tape it? I would.
Investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies in the National Weather Service or the emergency coordination.
They did not.
I'll tell you, if you look at that, what a situation that all is. And that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup. But I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe. And it's just so horrible to watch.
We were here around the table when Hurricane Helene struck, and I did not hear Jesse Waters, who I'm thrilled is back around the table, saying that Donald Trump should stop spreading lies about the Biden administration and the FEMA funds.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
As floodwaters swallowed entire communities across the southern United States, displacing thousands and killing dozens, Americans looked to their leaders for empathy, answers, and action. But amid the rising tide of destruction, political drama once again stole the headlines. The nation didn't just witness a natural disaster, also watched a political one unfold in real time. As a former president melted down on live television, in what can only be described as a chaotic, unhinged spectacle. The spotlight wasn't supposed to be on him, at least, not like this. The broadcast had begun as a special coverage segment on the historic flooding affecting parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Texas. Emergency services were stretched thin. Helicopters whirled over rooftops searching for stranded families. Entire highways were transformed into rivers. Local officials were crying out for federal support. And in the middle...
Just had some good ones too. But the response has been incredible. And the fact that we got along so well, I don't know. I don't even think that's a political thing. But we got along so well, and it was so unified. I think a lot of lives have been saved. That could have been as bad as it was, and you could have lost double or triple. This thing was just really horrible. Well, congratulations on a great job, and appreciate it. I know you're going to.
Congratulations on a great job. He said over 100 people died. No one can look at that response and say the response was great. I mean, the question is that who's a contributing factor to the information not getting to the camp?
In the middle of it all, Donald Trump decided to call into Fox News. What should have been a moment of leadership, a chance to address a hurting nation, quickly devolved into a circus. Instead of expressing concern for flood victims, Trump launched into his favorite hits, blaming Democrats, discrediting the media, and inflating his own accomplishments. He attacked climate science, mocked emergency response protocols, and then, bizarrely, pivoted to talking about his golf course renovations in New Jersey. But what made this moment historic wasn't just Trump's usual deflection, it was what happened next. For perhaps the first time in his post-presidency relationship with Fox News, the host pushed back, not gently, not with a wink, but with full, unfiltered accountability. The host interrupted Trump mid-rant and asked him point-blank, "Mr. Trump, people are dying. Entire counties are underwater."
I think that the federal government needs to hire back any of the meteorologists.
I wouldn't know that. I really wouldn't. I would think not. This was a thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. Very talented people are there, and they didn't see it. It's, I guess they said, once in 100 years. They've never seen anything like this. So I wouldn't. I mean, people are trying to blame the school. They're trying to blame the camp. They're trying to blame. It's just a horrible thing.
Trump,
Where is your compassion? Why haven't we heard a single word about helping the victims? Caught off guard, Trump bristled. There was a pause brief, but revealing, and then the floodgates opened. Figuratively this time, he lashed out at the host, accusing him of betraying the American people and falling for the climate hoax. He dismissed the footage of drowning towns as sensationalized. He claimed the Biden administration had probably caused the flooding on purpose to distract from inflation. And just when the segment couldn't get any more surreal, Trump shifted the blame to international organizations, asserting that China's probably involved somehow. Viewers were
make that they were stealing money from FEMA and using it, and it's all gone because they're using it to house migrants. That's not true. There's no disaster relief fund money that was going to house migrants.
When Trump literally spreads misinformation that puts people at risk of trying to obtain FEMA funding in the middle of a catastrophe, that's not politicizing tragedy?
But he pointed out that it's damaging the rumors that is what is happening, the rumors that are circulating. And with regard to that, things that the former president has said is FEMA funds were stolen to be used to house illegal migrants, that no one from FEMA was on the ground in North Carolina, that funds were being withheld from Republican areas of the state on purpose. None of that is true.
Stunned, social media lit up with disbelief. Even the Fox News production team seemed unsure whether to cut the feed or let the meltdown continue. Ultimately, the producers chose the latter end. What unfolded was a 15-minute tirade that revealed more about the state of Trump's mindset than any press conference or rally ever could. His tone oscillated between defiant and delusional. At times, he seemed almost unaware that he was on live television. He accused the government.
Now, we have to do one of the things that we do really well here, and that is correct dangerous misinformation that he is spreading about FEMA, hurricane relief. Listen, if you've been impacted by either the hurricane or want to know how you can help, do not listen to anything he says because he is giving you bad information.
And here it went of using weather manipulation, claimed that FEMA had been weaponized against conservatives, and suggested that blue states were hiding flood resources from red states. Every conspiracy theory in the book was tossed in, wrapped in paranoia, and served with a side of grievance politics. Meanwhile,
They did not. They did. I'll tell you, you look at that what a situation that all is, and that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup, but I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
There are a number of instances in this, and we were here around the table when Hurricane Helene struck, and I did not hear Jesse Waters, who I'm thrilled is back around the table, saying that Donald Trump should stop spreading lies about the Biden administration and the FEMA funds. Trump came out and he said, they're giving your FEMA dollars to illegals. They're housing them with your FEMA dollars. Then he said, you're only going to get $750 from FEMA, which was a complete lie. And there are Republican officials who have testified to the fact that people did not get their FEMA assistance because of what Trump and other Republicans were saying.
While flood victims watching the broadcast were left empty-handed, without answers, without empathy, and without leadership. The Fox News host, to his credit, refused to back down. He repeated the death toll, cited rescue statistics, and asked again what Trump proposed should be done to help. The response was chilling in its disregard. Trump suggested that maybe the states should fend for themselves, adding, "When I was president, we didn't have floods like this." A blatant lie. Of course, his administration saw catastrophic hurricanes, wildfires, and floods.
$54 billion in identified needs in terms of disaster resistance when it comes to these kinds of flash floods that state officials are asking for, and the GOP legislature has rejected them. That is something that they can work on to move forward and hopefully avoid a tragedy like this again.
But the facts, as usual, didn't matter in Trump's alternate reality. Critics across the political spectrum condemned the performance. Former GOP aides called it a national embarrassment. Climate scientists were outraged by the dangerous misinformation. Even some Fox News regulars publicly distanced themselves, with one commentator tweeting, "This was not leadership. This was narcissism in its most grotesque form." And yet the base didn't entirely abandon him. Trump loyalists rushed his
Texas Senator Ted Cruz literally inserted language into the Republicans' big, beautiful bill prior to its signing by Donald Trump on Friday. Language that eliminates $150 million funding to, quote, accelerate advances and improvements in research, observation systems, modeling, forecasting assessments, and dissemination of information to the public around weather forecasting.
Defense Online, calling the host a sellout and praising Trump for telling it like it is. Within hours, hashtags like #Floodgate and #TrumpTruth were trending on Truth Social. Trump himself posted a barrage of messages claiming victory, attacking the host, and declaring the interview a huge success. The interview's fallout extended far beyond Fox. Mainstream networks replayed the segment in disbelief. And conservative and liberal outlets alike questioned Trump's fitness.
I think there have been some eager to point at the National Weather Service and say cuts there led to a lack of warning.
Why are we cutting more funding in the future to deal with readiness? I mean, not to mention that more than 600 employees have exited the National Weather Service amid a Trump administration push to shrink the government workforce, leaving many offices short-staffed of meteorologists and other support workers.
Not just for office, but for public discourse in general. Former administration officials leaked that Trump had been warned not to take the call, but insisted on it anyway, believing it would boost his image as a decisive leader. It backfired spectacularly. Behind the scenes, Republican strategists were in panic mode, with Trump still the presumed frontrunner for the 2028 nomination. This debacle raised fresh concerns about his electability. Donors quietly expressed doubts. GOP governors in flood-affected states made public statements thanking
and other support workers. And around a fifth of all full-time workers at FEMA are also set to depart.
Well, according to our CNN reporting by our colleagues, Andrew Friedman, Emma Tucker, and Mary Gilbert, there are 2 offices of the National Weather Service in Texas that are closely involved in forecasting and warning about flooding on the Guadalupe River. They are missing some key staff members, but they still issued several watches and warnings about the flood danger. Tom Fahey, he is the legislative director for the National Weather Service's Employees Union. He told CNN that while he believes the offices had, quote, adequate staffing and resources, the Austin-San Antonio office is missing what they call a warning coordination meteorologist.
By dint for assistance while conspicuously ignoring Trump's comments. Even Lindsey Graham, usually one of Trump's most loyal defenders, refused to comment when asked. But perhaps the most damning reaction came from flood. Survivors themselves died in community shelters. People huddled around TVs and smartphones, watching a man who once held the most powerful office in the world seemingly care more about his ego than their survival. Interviews with victims painted a heartbreaking contrast, while they cried over lost homes. Trump raged about cable ratings. While they waited for rescue, he debated whether climate change was a liberal scam. The disconnect was staggering, and in the days that followed, the political storm only intensified. Trump's team tried to spin the incident. They released statements claiming he was misrepresented, that the segment had been doctored, and that he had in fact offered help though no such footage existed. They accused the host of ambushing him, though it was Trump who called in. And then,
recently tuned into the Murdoch-owned network, responsible for radicalizing boomers akin to how they felt video games would radicalize the youth, you'd be hard-pressed to find updates on the heartbreaking tragedy unfolding in Texas. But what you will find is just riveting discussions on how the new Superman, a movie based on a fictional character who comes to Earth from another planet called Krypton, is too woke in how it perpetuates the immigrant agenda.
Classic Trump fashion, he doubled down, posting a meme of the Fox host edited into a sinking ship with the caption, "Fake news sinks." Meanwhile, the host stood firm. In a follow-up segment, he replayed the clip in full, saying, "We believe in accountability here. No one is above tough questions, not even a former president." For media analysts, it was a seismic moment in conservative.
I wonder if it'll be successful.
You know what it says on this cape? MS-13.
Wow.
Is it superimposed or it actually says that?
It is super.
Just on the knuckles. One more thing is up next.
However, during Fox News The 5, when the topic pivoted to something that has rocked the nation, the deadly floods in Texas, liberal voice in the panel, Jessica Tarlov, reminded her co-hosts who were playing the Stop Politicizing Tragedy card who the person was that was spreading lies and disinformation regarding FEMA during Hurricane Helene.
Broadcasting. A clear fracture had opened between Trump and a network that had once been his most reliable echo chamber. While some hosts continued to defend him, others quietly began shifting toneless, deferential, more cautious. And for the American public, it was a clarifying moment. The floods exposed more than just the vulnerabilities in infrastructure, exposed the moral bankruptcy of those who treat disaster as a stage. Trump's performance wasn't just tone-deaf. It was a portrait of a man so obsessed with control, he couldn't bring himself to speak the words so many needed to hear. "I'm sorry, I care, I'm here to help," he said nothing.
Was it ever communicated to you that there was a need, that it was a priority to have a warning system so people had a chance to escape something like this?
Well, listen, I think anytime you're dealing with major rivers, there's a risk of flooding, and there's always been a risk of flooding, particularly on the Guadalupe River. I will say, in the wake of every tragedy, there are things that are predictable. One of the things that's predictable is that you see some people engaging in, I think, partisan games and trying to blame their political opponents for a natural disaster.